We're good. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are going to talk about play therapy, and we have Kristen James here from Kristen James Counseling, and she's going to go over that. But before we get started, we've been doing these parent groups now for a full year, almost two, and it's been really neat to be able to do it virtually and then catalog them and have them available to people to view afterwards. So if you're interested in those at all, make sure you check out our Parents as Teachers webpage, and that'll take you, it'll say virtual parent group library, and that's where we catalog everything. But then our groups and events page will have any of the ones coming up. And if you're not a part of Parents as Teachers, this is a great plug for that. Parents as Teachers is a great free program that takes care of kids from birth to age 5. And we kind of just come alongside you to make sure the kids are developing in age appropriate ways. We bring activities to your homes and just spend some time connecting with you before you get into the actual school program for the district that you're located in. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kristen, and she'll get started.
Perfect. Thanks, Ashley. Sorry about that. If you could go to the next slide, it's got all my information on it. My name's Kristen James Counseling. I have been an LPC, which is licensed professional counselor, for 10 years. I am play therapy trained, and we'll go over that later, what it means to be trained versus certified. But I've been doing play therapy since day one, right out of grad school. And I'm EMDR certified, which we will go over that as well. But that stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It is a trauma therapy that I do couple with play therapy as well. And my favorite part of my job, I have an emotional support animal who's sleeping at my feet right now. And there's a picture of her. Her name's Mia. And she is just the best to have, especially with kids. And I'll go over this too, but I use her in play therapy as well, because dogs just, and as cute as she is, just breaks down the barrier with kids. They walk in, they see a fluffy dog, and they have some hot chocolate, and I'm their best friend. So it works pretty well. So she might make an appearance here in a little bit. I am located off Main Street in St. Charles, and I can do virtual. Virtual play therapy is not really what we want. We'd like to do in-person play therapy because it is an interaction. That the interaction is important, but it is possible in this time that we're in to do virtual play therapy, and we'll get into that later. There is my email, my number, and my website if you guys have any questions after this, or if you need any referrals. I do have some referrals at the end of this as well, but I'm a great resource if you have any questions, or if you have any questions about referring your kid to somebody who can help them. So that's a little bit about me. And I see some people trickling in. Hello. All right, so if you want to go to the next slide. All right, so we're talking about play therapy. What is play therapy? Now, therapy, as most of you know or should know, or maybe don't, therapy is, a lot of times, it's a cognitive behavioral therapy is what everybody thinks of with therapy. You sit down, you talk to someone, and you work out your problems. Well, kids aren't gonna do that. I can sit down with usually play therapy is, I can do it about 3 up to about 7, and then we kind of switch from play therapy into more of like a creative art therapy. And however, I've had some adults who get down on the floor and we play with my dollhouse. So, play therapy is for everybody. But one reason why it's so important to do play therapy is that play is the child's language. They can't sit down and tell me, Mom and Dad fight. They can't use those words sometimes. So they'll get out my dolls. And of course, I have a whole bunch of stuff over here. They'll get out my dolls and act it out, and they're playing and they're telling me what's going on. So using these tools that I have to write tools in all my notes, because insurance companies don't like to see the word toys, to tell me what's going on with these toys, with these tools. That's play as a language. This is how they're going to tell you they're upset, not usually through, hello, mother, I am upset with you because you gave me strawberry Pop-Tarts. You're not going to get that out of a 3-year-old. And if you do, they're very advanced. So what is play therapy? Play therapy is also extremely barrier breaking. I have a dog. I offer hot chocolate if the parent lets me. I have a candy treasure chest. That right there, that's like a trust barrier. If I'm saying, hey, come in, let's sit on the floor, look at all these crazy things I have. I have fidgets and all of fun stuff. That right there is a barrier breaker. They're going to go, oh, I don't have to sit and stare at this human. That's a physical barrier breaker. We can be sitting playing with these at the dollhouse and they don't have to look at me, and they'll have a conversation with the dolls. They don't have to look at me at all, and they can tell me what's wrong. And so that's just super important too, because eye contact is very difficult when you're 5 years old and you're mad. We don't want to look at you. So this gives them that barrier breaking. You don't have to look at me. You know, you talk to the doll. I have finger puppets. And so a lot of the times if they don't want to talk to me, they can talk to the elephant, and I kind of put it away from my face. I make a great elephant noise, but I will not do that on here. It's very impressive to the children. So I like to pick this one. So that is another toy. It's gonna break down. And if I can make a kid laugh, if I can make an elephant noise, that also breaks down another emotional barrier, because, you know, it's easier to talk to someone we can laugh at. I get laughed at all the time and it's fine. I'm very used to it. And then also the teaching tool. So I do a lot of psychoeducation with emotions is a huge thing. And it's, you know, what is sad, what is happy. And so we do drawings of what's a sad face, what's a happy face. That's part of play therapy as well. And a lot of acting out. So, you know, I'll sit on the floor and say, what face am I making? Very good. I'm getting way good at those too. So need an acting class. But that's also barrier breaking, because I'm on their level with them. I'm not sitting in a chair. I take notes. I'm not sitting there going like, I'm not observing them. I'm interacting with them. So that's one thing. What is play therapy? It's an interaction on their level, using their words, using their tools to get them to express themselves and to teach them something. So next slide. This is a question I get. Are you just playing with my kid? No, I'm not, but it looks like that. And that's what I want. I want your kids to think this person is cool. This person is playing with me. That is what I want them to think, because I'm using slight positive manipulation, and that's okay. Parents use it all the time. Just saying. So I use it as well to break that barrier down and say, no, I'm not just playing with your kid. But a lot of the times I get that question of, well, my kid said you guys drew for an hour or painted a picture. I'm like, yeah, we did. And do you know how much they told me while they were doing that? Like, because if we get our hands moving, if we do these fine motor skills, a lot of the times their mouths are just going to go. Da, 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 da. I have a sand tray, and I had this one child who was playing, and they just looked at me and they said, I like to poop my pants. It's like, okay, great. And then they just went back to playing. I was like, okay, thank you for sharing that information with me. And that led into other issues, but his hands were busy and they were just ready to have a conversation. So there are themes. This is what we learn as play therapists is I can interpret, I have certain toys, and I'm going to go over that in the next slide of exactly like what toys are for what. But what we do as play therapists is we go through this list. We set up our play therapy room in a very certain way so that I can see if a kid picks up, we'll use this because it's part of the first one. I have a Nerf gun. I have Nerf bullets. This is absolutely a favorite with a lot of kids. We do have rules and boundaries on these, as we can't point them at Miss Kristen's face. And you cannot point them at Mia, my dog. If you point them at Mia, my dog, you have to, the session ends, because that's not safe. So we do have rules and boundaries around these. And I know a lot of parents get very upset with that. I do allow guns. It's a Nerf gun, but it is a gun. But I do allow that because, all right, so power and aggression themes. This is anything like play good guy versus bad guy. A lot of the times I have like these just doll toys, and this is the good guy and the bad guy, and the bad guy is going to go to jail. Well, that is telling me there's a power and control issue. We talk about aggressor victim. So if the child is the victim or the child's the aggressor, that's going to tell me, okay, so either you've seen this, you've been through this, or this is what you're trying to express to me. So I can look at them doing that. This is a great one. Let me grab, this is my Mr. Grumpy. You can see him, he looks very angry. This is such a great tool when kids are angry, because we all get angry. And this is, it's broken, so as you can maybe hear that, because this is allowed, this is a toy that is allowed to be hit, to be thrown, to be like, you can beat this thing up, it's not going anywhere. It used to make noises and somebody broke it because they were angry, and that's fine. In my office, everything can be broken. That's not a problem. I have parents who come in with the child and they're like, oh, you have to be kind. I'm like, you don't have to be kind in here, because you have to get out your issues here so that when you're at home, you're not throwing this around and breaking all the things. You can break whatever you want in my office. It's a tax write-off. It's fine. So the power and aggression tools, also one of the biggest ones I see, and also parents get really freaked out by these too. These are play handcuffs. These are from the dollar store, so I can get out of these. The rules and boundaries around these are that you can, I can't tell you how many times these have been used on me in the office. And so the kids are allowed to handcuff me, but they can only handcuff me when I'm sitting. I can't move. And it's always in front of myself. So it's never behind. I never let them do that because that's unsafe. That's an unsafe thing. But these are great because, again, this tells me either you've seen someone taken away in handcuffs or you want to control the adults in your life. You feel like you don't have power and control. What is more powerful than putting somebody in handcuffs? This is the ultimate control. So this I see a lot with kids with abuse issues. I see this with a lot of kids with anger issues, is because they want to control their environment. So they're going to control the adults in their life, AKA me. So I'm a surrogate for the parents. I'm a surrogate for the aggressor in a play therapy session. So that is power and aggression. The relationships and nurturance are both, they go together. I see this a lot in like divorces or life changes, and how I see the nurturance and nurturance toys. Obviously, we're always going to have my lovely baby doll here. Excuse her clothes. This is what a lot of my stuff gets torn up. So, so this is a nurturance tool. They take care of it, nurture others, they self-nurture. And one of the big things we have with that is I have a baby bottle. So we feed the baby. That's a nurturing thing. I have food, and I brought the donut because I will tell you about 9 times out of 10, this is what I get. They put a donut on the plate, and they will actually either give me the donut or they'll give themselves the donut. Now, I know, again, this seems like, okay, they're just playing. No, it actually matters. Or if they're giving me the donut, they're showing me I'm going to take care of you. But if they're doing it for themselves, that actually shows me, hey, I know how to take care of myself. It's not a selfish thing. It's a self-nurturance. It's I'm going to feed myself this fake donut before you get any, Ms. Kristen. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I would rather them self-nurture than nurture me, but that the nurturance toys show me about attachment. They show me about detachment, show me how their parents, their caregivers have taken care of them. Sometimes it will also show me regression. Are they going back to the baby stage? Like, do they want to be nurtured? Because I had a client who for probably 2 months, we had a routine. They came in, they sat down and they said, make me a meal, Miss Kristen. So I would say, okay, what are we going to make today? And then that kid was saying, I need to be taken care of here because I'm not being taken care of over there. So that's a nurturance. and relationship theme. Control and safety, we went over this a little bit with power and aggression, but that is the handcuffs. That is the, I want to control, I want to rescue, I want to put someone in danger. I've had that so many times where, you know, I have this little puppy, because why wouldn't I? And they will put the puppy in scary places and they'll have somebody come and save the puppy. I want to be in control. I want to be the savior. I want to keep things safe. And the other thing we have is, I have a nurse friend who gave me this. So this is a real stethoscope. And so this is, are you broken? Are you sick? Are you hurt? This is great. If my dog was not snoring cutely, I would bring her up here. What we do with this and the dog is they go find Mia's heartbeat, and we talk about heartbeats, and we talk about, you know, physical health and healthy, and how we can hear our heart. And so this definitely helps with some education with our heart and what our heart feels. I had a kiddo go over and listen to Mia's heart and say, Miss Kristen, Mia's sad. I was like, okay, well, tell me, why is Mia sad? Like, you listened to Mia's heart. Mia's heart said you were sad. And they said, she's sad because you don't have any Tootsie Rolls. It's like, okay. So they were telling me through my dog that they need to be taken care of. They want candy. I've had more serious things than that, but you know, Tootsie Rolls, that was probably my favorite. And this is also really great. We'll get into this for medical issues. A lot of medical issues can cause trauma. And so when they see this in my office, if they're scared of it, that also tells me you've probably been to the hospital a lot, and why. And that will kind of give me a clue. So I hope you're seeing that every toy I have in my office, there is a reason. You can point any toy and say, why do you have that? And I'll tell you. Exploration and mastery themes. These are creativity. I have these. Sorry, I was like, do I have these? All right. This is one parents get really upset with me about. Here's my Uno cards and my I Love Unicorn playing cards, because why not? This is exploration and mastery. Parents are like, did you seriously play Uno with my child for 45 minutes? Sure did. And I learned more about them than I would without the Uno. These themes are about cheating, about winning. I can't tell you how many kids cheat. And the thing is, I absolutely let them cheat. And then I point it out. I'm like, hey, is that like, can I do that too? And they're like, well, no. So then we have that conversation about fairness. Something else I do with these, and this is a really cool thing you guys can do at home. So as we all know, Uno has 4 different colors. Let me grab them. So usually I'll go through and say, okay, what emotion represents yellow? Most I get is happy. What emotion is blue? Sad. Red, mad. Green, a lot of kids have a problem with, but I'll kind of do like anxious, because that's one that kids is not really in mad, sad, or happy. So then I'll pull that out and say, this is anxious, this is nervous, this is like scared. So every time the color changes, you have to say one thing that makes you mad, one thing that makes you anxious. And so it's a way for me to like, and I do self, what is that called? Not self-indulge, disclose. I also self-disclose. So I'll say things that are age appropriate. You know, I'm really mad when people call me mean names. I can say, do you get mad when people call you mean names? Well, what do we do when we're mad? And there's that psychoeducation of, oh, well, when I'm mad, I can throw Mr. Grumpy, because Mr. Grumpy is an appropriate way to be mad. Ta-da. It's magic. I love it. Interaction themes. So this, a lot of the times, is like, this goes with the Uno. I have some games that are like creative games. So I have a game called Follow Me, and you take 2, I only have 1 pencil for some reason. Let's pretend this is a pencil. And I will take the pen, and then I will have them, and I will draw, and they have to follow my pen. So, and then I let them do it. That's an interaction between me and them that builds up rapport, builds up trust. And it also, sometimes therapy can be boring, and I don't want it to be boring. And so this is an attachment thing. This is a, hey, we can have fun together. This can be positive. Take this to your parents, like teach your parents this. So then they're teaching you, they're being the master of this thing. We talked about that mastery theme. Hey, teach your parents this. Super cool. All right, sexualized play, the one that everyone gets very nervous about. I will tell you, I am a trauma therapist. First and foremost, I'm trauma informed. I know abuse happens, not in every home, but it happens. So sexualized play, this is one big one that I see all the time. A couple things. So, especially with dolls, these clothes come off. I have other clothes. I can see like what they're doing. We talk about it. If they're touching the doll in private parts, then I mentally note that. And I will never ask the kid, hey, have you been sexually abused? A, they don't know what that is. B, they're going to freak out. And I don't want either of those things to happen. So I'm just aware of it. Could be, with dolls, I have seen people, I've seen them act out sexual things with dolls. And a big thing in play therapy is that I don't ask a lot of questions. I just do a lot of reflection. So I see those two dolls are close to each other. Like, what do you think those dolls are doing? So I'll ask like those kind of questions, but never yes, no. And I'll always reflect. Oh, I see you're listening to Mia's heart. What is Mia's my dog? If anybody just came in, she's very cute. She's with me every day and kids love it. So I see you're listening to Mia's heart. Yep, Mia's heart is sad. Okay, well, why is Mia's heart sad? And so that is, that's a reflection that I do, and that really helps with this sexualized play. And I think that's, one thing I want to go back real quick. The other aggression toys that I forgot, I have like animals, and I do see a lot of sexualized play with the animals that I have. And each animal that I have has a certain reason why I have it. So the ones I brought tonight are all, they're all anger. So I have I don't even know what this is, a lion, a hyena, and a dragon. So a lot of the times kids will take an aggressor and an innocent, like a dog, and that is how they show me relationships in their life. And that is where I get the sexualized play as well. So, okay. Does anybody have any questions? You can always put questions in the chat. I know that was a ton of stuff on themes, or you can unmute yourself. Just give you a couple seconds. Does anybody have questions with themes or anything that I said? No. All right, next slide. So this is an explanation of all the toys, so you guys can read that. Some I didn't have with me, and the different ways that you can see the relationships and nurturing. That's one thing. Like the medical kit, I have a full medical kit. I have a full kitchen, play kitchen. Obviously, I have cash. I have a register. Most of this stuff I have, but also they can take some of these like doll families, and it can be used for acting out. It can be used for creating expression. It can be used for emotional release. So all of these things have a meaning. They all have a purpose. And I love that a lot of these purposes can be like 5 different things, but that is why we get trained to know if you use the doll, I can tell you how they're using the doll. And most likely I can tell you why. Of like, I see themes of power and control issues. So what's going on in their life right now that they don't feel like they're in control of? And the parent's like, oh my gosh, we just like took away their door. I'm like, ta-da, they don't like it. So any questions about the toys that I have up there? Okay, all right, next slide, please. How do I know my child needs play therapy? Um, how do you know your child needs to go to the doctor? They are sick. They are acting atypically, right? Kind of the same thing with therapy. Behavioral issues. Are they hitting? Are they biting? Is there defiance? Um, is there sleep issues? That's a big one. Are they not going to sleep? Are they waking you up 20 times? Like that's an atypical need that they're trying to get met. Play therapy can help with that. Emotional, that's the sleep disturbances as well. Are they having nightmares? Are they constantly crying? Are they really weird and rude to one family member? I've had that. Play therapy helped that. Life changes, divorce, death of a pet, death of a person. Are they going to a new school? Do they have a new sibling? That's a big one as well, adding a sibling, or even like a sibling going off to college, like with an age gap. Any kind of those life changes that you feel like as a parent, you're like, I just feel like they need an extra person to talk to. Absolutely, play therapy is perfect because it uses their language. And it gives them their own space, I think is very important because as we all know, our kiddos 5 and under, they're still whole people, but they're whole people who don't know how to use our language yet. And so when we're not completely trained on, a kid picks up something and is angry, well, we're not supposed to hit. Okay, but how do they get that out if they can't hit? They come to me and we learn how to hit appropriate things. Like Mr. Grumpy. He's great. Medical issues. So this is something I talked about a little bit with when we were talking about themes. So this is why this is an actual doctor stethoscope. My nurse friend gave it to me. And medical issues. Do they have to get their blood drawn? Do they have to get vaccinations? Are they going to the dentist? Is there any medical trauma? Have they seen an ambulance? That all can be extremely traumatic to a kid, and they're not going to have the language to say, I am scared because needles look scary. They're not going to have that language. Unless they do, then again, very advanced children. And then, of course, behind in typical emotional growth. So this is a lot of those social aspects. And I do a ton of social stories. And so I get a lot of kids who don't have a lot of, like, they don't have positive friendships. And so it's, well, what's happening there? And again, they can't tell you with the words we need to understand. So I get a lot of social, like, well, kids don't like me. Okay, well, let's figure that out because it's probably not just them, right? It's probably a whole bunch of things. They don't know how to make attachments. They don't know how to make relationships. And that's super stressful for a kiddo to go into a social aspect not completely aware. So that is another kind of red flag. Any red flags you see, call a therapist. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is important. Does every therapist provide play therapy? No, they do not. Even if they say they work with children, that is not the same. Play therapy, like I said, is about 3 is the youngest we can do play therapy, up to 7 or 8. And then once we get into the 8s, I do a little more bibliotherapy, which is therapy with books. So this is when Sophie gets angry, really, really angry. This is delightful. I also have a food with moods. That's really fun that I forgot to bring, but it's a way to teach even the little ones, but the 8-year-olds, this is what I get into. The Invisible String. If you don't have this book, you need to Amazon this. Like, this is amazing. So bibliotherapy is a little bit more for the kids that are like looking at this doll and they're like, I don't want to play with this stupid thing. Like, okay. Sorry. All right. Does every therapist provide play therapy? No, because somebody who was in play therapy wouldn't know anything I just said. I am an LPC. I'm a licensed professional counselor. There is licensed master social worker and registered play therapist, which the registered play therapist is an extra certification. So not everybody gets that. And I am not a registered play therapist because I was not given the opportunity. I used to live in Springfield, Missouri, and there was no one to supervise you. And so I am looking into that route now, but I can still do play therapy because I've had 10 years of training. I've been trained, I just have not been supervised. So I promise I am still a very good play therapist. And many people can perform play therapy without being registered. But registered play therapist in St. Louis is actually much easier to find than rural Missouri. So do not worry. And I do have some people who are ready for clients, and I have their names at the end. But so a licensed master social worker can also do play therapy, even if they're not registered play therapist, but we do want to make sure they have some kind of background of training. All right, next slide, please. All right, so we got a question in that was before, so I was able to prepare. So what can I do to help my child with play therapy while we wait for a therapist to become available to see them? So like everything in the world right now, therapists are completely booked. So I'm actually completely booked for my after school appointments. I have morning appointments, but of course people work and kids have to go to school and preschool. But most therapists right now are completely booked. So what do we do in the meantime when we're waiting for a therapist, but our kid is still having all of these issues? So I provided just a couple of things. And again, if you ever need to contact me, and I do have people who have availability at the end. But so let's kind of put all this together. So when they're sad, what do we do? Well, sad is self-care. We want to draw, why are you sad? Can you draw me, what makes you sad? That Uno game is great for that. Mad, let's throw something we can throw. A pillow, a doll, punch something that's appropriate. And I understand some parents don't like that. That's fine. So how can we get mad? One of my favorite things to do is rip up paper. That's a great one. Have them draw or write, or you can write what makes them upset. And then we rip it to shreds and we throw it up in the air. And then you're not going to like this. You clean it up. Your kid should not clean up their emotions. I never make kids clean up in my office. Another thing parents don't like, because they just like vomited their emotions. If they really vomit, I'll make you clean it up. But they vomited their emotions on the floor. I'm not going to have them put that away because they got it out of themselves. And then I don't want to make them clean it up. So yes, make your kids clean up after themselves all the time, except when we're expressing emotions. So ripping up that paper in tiny little pieces and then throwing it up in the air. Your anger is gone. That's a great one. Anxious, it's fidget toy time. And these are awesome. You can give fidget toys. I swear I'm not sponsored by Amazon, but I love Amazon. And these poppets, I know they're very annoying. They're not allowed at schools, but they are really great for fidgets. And there is games. I'm sure most of you know this. There's games with these you can look up. And this is a bonding tool. This is an anxious tool. This is my favorite. So here is my suggestion. This is a little marble in mesh. Every kid and adult, every person has a sensory profile. Order 4 or 5 different fidget toys. There is one that I got these from. It's $30, 30 pieces, and let them see what they like. My husband and I have completely different sensory profiles, and we split up my fidget toys. I was like, these are mine. Those are yours. Don't touch my mesh marbles because these are my favorite. Anxious also, weighted blankets are great. My dog's great for that. If I get anxious, I put her on my lap and it makes me happy. So scared, if we are scared, let's build a fort. Let's build a comfy fort, get some delicious hot chocolate and read a nice happy book. That's what I would do in play therapy. I let them build forts. We we read, we do comforting things. So those are a couple of things. If you're unsure how they're feeling, this is a big one of how do I know how my kid feels? What you can do is you can say, kid's not going to pick that. Okay. You can say, if this was you, what would you want to do? So then, they would run or jump or whatever, or draw. Or Ashley, can you go to the next thing? This is a great tool. This is the feelings wheel, and you will get this presentation. And I can also email Ashley a PDF of this. This is awesome. This helps a child communicate to you and identify how they're feeling so you can know, okay, you're scared. Well, here are some things I like to do when I'm scared. So I had a kiddo today actually tell me, let me find it. Oh, they were concerned. They were feeling hurt. They were feeling alone. So what is that? We look at it, we're like, oh my gosh, you're sad. The one today I had was, sorry, I'm trying to read these if you can, was scared, but he kept using other words. And it was like, oh my gosh, did you know you're scared? He's like, what? No, I didn't know that. So when we're scared, what do? We comfort. And they also have, so they have ones, if you just Google feelings wheel PDF or feelings wheel kid, they have ones that are more just pictures, which are awesome. So these are some pictures and then the words for the parents who understand it. There's also a feelings temperature gauge. If we need to say, are you at a 7 and you need to come down to a 3? That's another one, because kids are visual. Kids are not going to look at this and go, I am embarrassed, overwhelmed, and they're not going to do that. So kids are visual. Get visual things to help them. A chore chart may not work, put a broom on it. They're going to see that. So that is the feelings wheel. You can also print this out and laminate it, and they can, I literally had a kid walk around with it for a whole 24 hours because I was like, we need to communicate how we're feeling. So just point on it. It's great. Next slide, please. Okay, so I reached out to my little group of people, and again, you'll get this. These are 4 people who have immediate available play therapy openings. I don't know all of them personally, but I do know them through my little cohort of people that I met in St. Louis. I believe Ashley Bonner and Megan Adamo, they are both they are studying to be registered play therapists. So they are both, LCSW is licensed clinical social worker and LMSW is licensed master social worker. So that's what those two mean. Both of those women are in their final stages. So they're being supervised right now, which is not an opportunity I got. So they're being supervised, and so that's the only difference in all of them. The other 2 are licensed. They are play therapists, and most of them take insurance, but really what you're going to find is self-pay, and it's probably anywhere from, I want to say 75 to 130, depending on their prices. I think all of them are either private pay or not private pay, private practice. So I'm private practice, so I get to set my rates differently than other people. So those are them. And I do not have immediate availability, but you can always be put on my wait list, which is long. I think that is all I have. Ashley, will you make sure I don't have any more? I think I'm good.
No, I think that was great. That was really good information for sure. As far as
fast. So I hope you're fine. I hope people had questions.
Yeah. Do any of you guys have questions? I can, hold on. Let me stop recording. So we are done with the presentation, and then we can do some questions.